Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. I am your host, Eric Anthony. This is my pal, Dave. My pal, Dave. How the hell are you, buddy?
Hello, I'm Hal and also the lyrical gangster. How are
Here
you,
comes the
dude?
hot. I'm feeling like the hot stepper. So here we come, right?
Match made in
Hey,
heaven, my dude.
that's what I'm talking about. Everybody who's with us on Twitch, I know we're off schedule a touch, but if you join us on Twitch, we really appreciate it. Everybody who's watching us on the YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, the notification button always helps. And if you're listening on any other podcast platform, do the same for us. Or leave us a review. Tell us what you think. But of course, please visit us at OmniverseComics.Guide, where you'll have all of our podcast archives, our collector item specials, our reading orders, our creator interviews. We got a couple of good ones. You should check those out. And everything is there. So if you're looking for a crossover to read or some sort of event that happened in comics and you want to know all the details, well, our site is second to none when it comes to that shit, right, Dave?
Maybe.
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 So
We
come
try.
visit us, OmniverseComics.Guide. I'm excited for today's episode. Before we get into our Peter David recommended reading, Dave, do we got a mailbag this week? I like when a little bird flies through and drops us a little something
Well,
something.
a little while ago, I was
Hmm.
sent 4 issues of Huge Detective from Titan Comics. And
Okay.
I was hoping to drop them and do a little review. I've not had, I didn't read them for a long time because I just had lots of other shiz to juggle. But I'm so glad I did. There's 2 issues remaining, and I don't know if it's going to continue after that, if there's going to be like a follow-up. But this is such a bizarre series. This is such a weird idea. Where this is a land where there's not much of humanity left, and the giants rose up from beneath the surface and essentially took over the world. But there's been a murder. There's been a murder. And this giant and a human are teaming up as a detective odd couple to find out who's behind it and solve the crime. It's so much world building and such an oddball concept, and it really weirdly works. It's just this nice little atmospheric mini. So yeah, pick it up. It's Huge Detective, and I believe the trade paperback will be out towards the end of the year.
Getting into this week's discussion, I'm excited to talk about it. We intended to do this a while ago.
Yeah.
So it is coming
Intend that top
across.
10.
Yes, we intended to do this top 10 for a minute, and I was the one who kept putting it off because I'm like, I need to read more Peter David to like properly um, do him justice. Because I know on your end, Dave, you could probably do all 10 for us and really just do it from your heart and off the top of your head, which is what I'm excited about for today because you really love Peter
I do
David.
love Peter David. I could probably do a top 10 Peter David Hulk solo, but I
Yeah,
won't.
no,
We'll be a team.
yes, we'll be a team. So we've talked about Peter David countless times,
Yeah.
whether it's an incoming Spider-Man related Hulk, whatever it is. His name comes up all the time, deservedly so. He's extremely prolific and critically acclaimed and rightfully critically acclaimed. Like
Yeah.
he's made quite the impact in his prolificacy. And
Is that
in
a
this,
word?
I think so. We're
Is
gonna
it?
make it.
I
We're gonna
like
make it,
that. I like the way you
right?
made it sound. It sounded
Thank
like
you.
Pop Tarts on your tongue.
So in everything that he's done, he's definitely left an indelible mark on those characters, whether he's been on the book for years or a little bit of time. And what was fun for me was reading a lot of things for the first time. I became a pretty hardcore Peter David fan, where I'm kind of like, I'll give anything a try if he
Yeah.
wrote it. I ended up buying the Aquaman omnibus, which I was on the fence for, because I got my Jeff Johns. That's my Aquaman, right?
Yeah.
But
Same.
I like the fact that this is Peter David's Aquaman, and he had a tale that was a 5 year long tale,
Yeah.
and I trust him. At this point, it's a matter of trust. Dave, I want to ask you because I you put me on to a lot of Peter David stuff from your excitement for like the Hulk and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When was that moment for you where you're like, Peter David's my guy? Like,
It was
I
my
love
first
this writer.
choice for tonight.
Okay.
That was there. That was it. That's what sealed the deal. There were some moments before, but that was what sealed the deal.
Take it away with your number one. I want to hear.
Okay. Right. I'm going to start with my favorite Peter David story of all time. And it's the kind of normally you'd save that to last, but I want to open with it because I love it so much. And this was the moment that changed for me. So I'd read one of his comics in a special. It was a reprint, and it was that issue 340 where he fights Wolverine, but it was in a UK reprint, and they recolored him green. So I literally had no idea about how a bigger picture story was. I thought it was just that's the story. But then picked up around the 350s, and there were some stories between then and this issue that I really loved, but this just took it up to another level, and it made me change my perception of how you can tell stories in superhero comics. So this is Incredible Hulk 383 to 384. It's two issues that tie into the Infinity Gauntlet event, and as much as I love Infinity Gauntlet, these trump it for me. So in the story, it takes place around the Infinity Gauntlet. People start vanishing because of what's gone on with Thanos and the what's now referred to as the Snap, and including Rick Jones. So Rick Jones vanishes, and he delivers a line which is something like, I can't die now, I've got a gig Thursday. And then he's gone. And Hulk's trying to figure out what's going on. Now, he thinks the Abomination is responsible because the Abomination is stalking this ballerina at this... oh, no, I think she is a ballerina, but she's starring in a play, which is... Oh, God, it's the one about the dude that turns into a beetle. I had to do it in theatre studies. I can't... Metamorphosis? Anyway,
Not sure.
so I think she's in this play because they're going to make Metamorphosis to be a reference to like change and hulking out and stuff, you know. So it's all these little metaphors in there. But Hulk thinks the Abomination's responsible, and just as he's about to catch up with him, when he kidnaps this woman, the Abomination kidnaps this woman, he's sucked through a portal. Now, my favourite issue is the second part of this, and in this he comes out back into the sewers in New York City, but it's after he's been shrunk by Thanos. So the Hulk is super tiny, and the Abomination is walking around with this woman in his arms. Even though there are a few punches thrown in it, this is a different Hulk. This isn't a Hulk who's like the mean and nasty grey Hulk. This isn't the savage, roaring, smashing everything green Hulk. You know, this isn't even Banner. So what he has to do, because he's super tiny, is figure a way to outsmart the Abomination. So he sits on his shoulder and pretends to be the voice of God. And I loved it. And the thing is, even though it might be a bit silly and there's a lot of suspension of disbelief in there, the best part for me is the closing line of the issue, which I'm not going to say what it is, but the line from that issue stuck with me for the rest of my life after I read it. I reread that line over and over again. It's one of those things, the way he words it is just, it's beautiful. And it's like an emotional issue. It was for me. And I loved it, and that changed from. I mean, like the closest I had to that, I think, was that hero story in Fantastic Four that John Byrne drew. When you know, like a comic can like hit you emotionally, and you're not expecting it. This was different. There was a sweetness to it. It's an unexpected sweetness to it, and then there's another little subtext to it as well that again I don't want to spoil, but it's just the characterization, and this is something that Peter David excelled at. He had those characters, and every character had a voice. They had their voice. Like, they came from somewhere. They had a background. This is their accent. And not like in an exaggerated way, but, you know, they all had underlying history, or they'd mentioned something about what happened to them when they were a kid. He's got it all worked out. It feels like he's already worked out who everyone is and why they should connect with each other. And he made the Abomination and Hulk connect in a way they've never connected before and never have since. It was brilliant. And it's the art's by Dale Keown. So how can you go wrong? The issue looks great. It reads so incredibly well. And it's a surprisingly moving story. So that's my all-time favourite Peter David comic. And I'm opening with that. So it can only go down from there.
It's a great run. Peter David's Hulk is up there with one of the greatest runs in comic book history.
Great.
And I haven't
Wow.
finished it yet.
Wow.
It is.
High
It is,
praise.
though.
Oh no, totally. It's incredibly deserving. Like it's one of the most rewarding reading experiences in comics, at least, that you will ever have, because of the
Got
way
everything.
that he writes. He pays off and pays off. He will build up 2 years to a throwaway joke. He will literally build just to a punchline.
Yeah.
That's how dedicated he is to the way he writes and the way he builds everything. It's really smart. And it's not smug, and it's not dumbing it down. Even when he's taking the piss out of stuff, it's affectionate. Which is great.
Yes. As silly as it is, and as much as there's the joke and there's that tongue-in-cheek stuff that he gets really well, there are moments where he hits you with a little bit of like that feeling that JMD gives me. I'm like, wait a second. he takes it there in a way and he brings you right back. But
Yeah.
this is sticking the landing because there's layers.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just
It's just so good, and it makes the fights feel different. It's not just to punch 'em up to sell a book for 3 pages where people are doing that mispunching, you know. No one's hitting anyone,
yeah,
you know. It's like
yeah,
there's something more behind it.
yeah. There's payoff.
There's
He
payoff and there's pathos.
Yeah, good way to put it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
my first one. I'm going to go with a sequel to start. And when we did our Spider-Man in the 80s, you brought up the death of Jean DeWolf.
I did.
And that's,
I wish I'd saved it for this, but
yeah, I would have picked it for this one, but I think equally as interesting is the sequel to that, which was The Sin Eater, 3 issues in issues 134 to 134.
6.
It's a three-parter. It's all collected in with those premier collections. The Death of Jean DeWolf. It had that story, and then the sequel to it was collected in that. He gets into the psyche of the Sin Eater. He'll tell a story, and when he returns to it, he finds a very clever way, not a hack way, but a very clever way to reintroduce that storyline again in a way that adds a layer that brings something home to the character. And what's cool about it is the first time around, when he tells the story of the death of Jean DeWolf, I don't think Spider-Man is with Mary Jane. I don't think they've been reunited yet. But by the time this story comes out, now they're married. Like this is right around the time that Kraven's Last Hunt's about to take place, I think.
is
So
this
it's
takes place just after Craven's Last Hunt?
yeah, so you've got all of this like angst in Spider-Man's life
Yeah.
happening in and around the same time, and both of the writers who are tackling the character from a psychological point of view are doing the right things to them. So if you read Kraven's Last Hunt and then you read this Sin Eater story, like it's some pretty heavy stuff, pretty heavy and heady stuff that Spider-Man's going through, and it's a worthwhile read. Definitely read Death of Jean DeWolf because it's a classic, but this one goes right up there with it. It's a
Nice.
worthwhile sequel.
Well, it's so just to confirm, you're right. It's Spectacular 134 to 136, and here's the
Okay.
thing for me is that I've never read those issues, so that would be a new Peter David thing, and that's what's great. He's written so much stuff that
Yeah.
there's always something to find.
This is also an Electro story. It's a pretty good Electro story as
Oh,
well.
cool.
Like it's a cross connecting story.
Okay,
Dave, you got a number 2 for me?
I can do a number 2 for you. My number 2 tonight is a Wolverine story. It's not the Wolverine story from Incredible Hulk, though. I'm not going to go into it. But in the best top 10 fight scenes, I did mention the Wolverine Hulk fight from issue 340 that I mentioned earlier.
Have.
So go and listen to that, so we're not sitting here repeating ourselves. This is from Marvel Comics Presents 85 to 92. The art is by Sam Keith. The storyline is Blood Hungry. Now, this is a really weird one. Well, it's Sam Keith, so it's going to be weird. I think if I've got this right in my head, they already worked together on issue something like 368 of Incredible Hulk on a Mr. Hyde story. So in a way, this is kind of a follow-up to, in terms of their working together, Peter David and Sam Keith. So Sam Keith's art, people might know him from the Max, from Image Comics. It's also been produced by a few other people, and there was an animated series at some point. His art is very exaggerated. It's very dark, atmospheric, kind of weirdly a bit sinister.
Nightmarish.
Very nightmarish, yeah. But this is about an old foe of Wolverine's from the past that someone he just couldn't beat. And the thing is, as cliche as it sounds, it's supposed to. And I don't think when I was reading it at the time that I knew well enough to realise this. But reading it, there are some flashbacks, and they're so weird. Like Wolverine's driving around in a sausage, and then Cyber drives up next to him in an even bigger sausage. Like it's such an obvious metaphor, and I was going, these memories are a bit weird because I was what?
Peter David does include a lot more innuendos than an Omega bread. I'll tell you that much.
There'd be a fight there.
Yeah,
For the biggest piece of the sausage.
that's for sure.
But this whole thing is a parody of Wolverine stories. Basically, just everything you expect to see in a Wolverine story, it does it. So there's like him with Tiger, clearly there's shenanigans going on between them. You know what I'm talking about.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
then
mhm.
Wolverine's got his foe returning from the past, and then like they do a size comparison thing with their claws because of course Cybers are only really small, but he's a much bigger guy, so it's like, oh, what? It doesn't end up being the throwdown thing you expect it to be because it's a piss take. But
It's almost like Looney Tunes.
yeah, it knows exactly what it's trying to do. It knows what it wants to be. It feels like a stupid cartoon that maybe even someone had parodied in something that wasn't a Marvel book, but they printed it. You know, it's like this is so weird. There is an incredible cover. I think it's Marvel Comics Presents '92, which almost looks like a variation of the Arthur Adams image of Wolverine running. You know, the way he did that classic Wolverine kind of run into the camera. Sam Keith does his version, and all the his clothes are shredded, but they've all coiled. So they look like little telephone cable coils coming out, and it's just this wild looking thing. But what a bizarre story. I mean, I've listed it in top 5 Peter David stories of all time. Is it one of the greatest of all time, if I'm truly honest? No, but did I like reading it again? Yeah, I think I've read it about 4 times. You know?
Recommended reads. You've seen all the top 10. You know, like you've seen all of the
Yeah.
Peter David listed. We're not going to bore you with all the obvious ones,
We say
right?
top 10.
Yeah.
What is going
Yeah,
on
it's
with
our
my
picks.
hair?
Our recommended top 10. That's
Yeah.
right. I like it. Pick the ones you love because
Yeah.
you can talk about it honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Important.
So expect weirdness, expect darkness, expect just the biggest piss takery you're likely to see. But I mean, that's straight up Peter David's street, and it works so well with Sam Keith's art.
I'm gonna stick to the theme. People are gonna catch on pretty quick what the theme is. So my next pick is going to be from 1992. Peter David, an extended run as he was known for, but this is Spider-Man 2099. I'm not gonna say read the full run. That's cheating. Start off with issues 1 to 3. Start off with the origin of the character. It's a pretty ambitious thing. Like Peter David, I would say, had pretty ambitious ideas, and to make them work, you've really got to come with something that's going to make people say, "Hey, check that out." Because at this time, there's so much Spider-Man available. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy how much Spider-Man is on the shelf, how much he's selling, and that's why they come out with this futuristic version of Spider-Man. How are you going to pull that off? Um, I have to say, and I'm not sure if it's his Star Trek being a Trekkie and having that experience writing Star Trek as well, but Peter David's concepts of the future are pretty good.
yeah.
Like he's pretty balls on with a lot of things that hadn't really been established yet.
No, he's
We
probably
have
been a
different
bit
names.
too. Maybe it was a bit
Pardon?
later than we expected because some of it's happening now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He was a bit ahead of his time with kind of seeing where we go with stuff. And as I'm reading Spider-Man 2099 and 2025, knowing that this is now, over 30-year-old comic,
You
there's a
can
lot
keep
of
track of
stuff
those
in it.
numbers.
There's a lot of stuff in it that makes it very contemporary, like you
Yeah,
said. What takes you out of it a little bit is just that this is 90s comics, the way it was presented, the way they were paneled and drawn, like that's what brings you back there. And some of these things have come out now that are in this book of like of the future.
yeah,
They're just called different things. Instead of the internet, they call it, I forgot what he refers to it as, but I think it's like the nets.
yeah,
It's not far off. Like you know exactly what they're talking about. A
yeah,
surveillance state, having like a smartphone to guide you through your day with Lila. So I'm
yeah.
talking all about the world of Miguel O'Hara.
Yes,
So I suggest these first 3 issues because it gives you it's very fast paced. It's breakneck speed. I don't know when the last time it was that you've read this, but it basically just shows
a couple of years
Spider-Man
ago.
2099 as far as you can tell because of the cover. You know
Yeah,
that's his name. He's on the run. He's a fugitive of some sort, and then you put the pieces together as to what it is that happened to him. Now, the longer you stick with this series, the payoffs are really, really big, and you get really invested in some of these characters that they don't, at this point in time, you don't care who Gabrielle O'Hara is. He's just this guy's brother. Big deal. There's no history to these guys. They're
no,
not connected to anything in the Marvel universe as we know it. So this is a clean slate. And there's ways that it ties in with stuff that happens in the regular 616, and it's such a fine tightrope walk that Peter David does with this Spider-Man book to make it all work. It's quite good.
Yeah,
It's very 90s,
yeah.
very 90s.
But it was the ultimate universe before we had an ultimate universe. Like, it was their chance to start
Exactly.
over and give readers weren't who were kind of worried about 30 years worth of history to catch up, only at that point 30 years worth of history to catch up on. It was their chance to. Something's talking to me. That's so weird.
Lila,
Lila.
right?
But yeah, it was their chance to give new readers a jumping on point, because that was when it was the 90s boom. So
Yeah.
Spider-Man was the first new title. They had Doom, they had Ravage, Punisher, eventually X-Men, and then Hulk and 2099 Unlimited. Spider-Man 2099 is the book to stick with. Doom gets better, and then it drops off again. But for the most part, but the thing that I don't 100% know in terms of the world building bit, in fairness, is how much of it was Stan Lee and John Byrne, because originally it was going to be World of Tomorrow, and it was being worked on by Byrne and Lee. And something happened, and it'd be interesting to know what happened, but it might be on Byrne Robotics. I don't know. I'll have a look. But yeah, something happened, and then that project died, but it turned into the 2099 titles. So that's why the last series that wraps it all up was called 2099 World of Tomorrow, because originally it was supposed to be called World of Tomorrow.
Got you.
So yeah, I don't know how much it changed between there and then, but I think it seems most of the world building does seem to come from Peter David, I think.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I would tend to agree with you is the way that later on in other books he incorporates the world building of 2099. I started reading Spider-Man 2099 during the Spider-Verse event. It was a really cool way of finding a way to bring back other versions of Spider-Man that allowed him to be used again by Peter David, which was really cool. Anyways, issues 1 to 3, it's a cool little origin story. It doesn't have your typical Peter Parker tropes.
No.
It's its own thing. He's got his own legitimate spider powers, which is what I really like about it, is that Miguel O'Hara is his own guy.
Thank you, Marvel Man, for reminding me there was Fantastic Four 2099 and X Nation 2099. If you want to read the Spider-Man 2099 stuff mixed in with all the other titles and know how it all fits together with all those titles, then have a look at our 2099 reading order, 1992 to 1997, and that puts
Nice.
all of it together and highlights the stuff you need to read and highlight, and unhighlightifies the stuff you can skip.
Yeah. Nice. See? Second to none.
Okay.
All right. You're number 3.
At risk of stealing from you, my number 3 is Captain Marvel 27 to 30. This is from Volume 4, as some people refer to it as of Captain Marvel. I didn't write down what year this came out. Oh, no.
Is it the crossover with Spider-Man 2099?
Yeah. Is that the one?
Yeah, it was next.
Oh,
That was
no.
next on my
Do
list.
you want it? Do you
That's
want
okay.
it?
No, 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 no. Please, I have an extra.
Oh, okay. I'll probably
Yeah.
steal next. That's why I was going to let you go first.
No, to do it.
Okay, well, we can both talk about it, as we clearly both read it. So feel free
Exactly.
to chip in. So this is a 4-part story called Time Flies. The art's by Chris Cross with a fill-in by Chris Batista. So it's a 4-parter. I wanted to include something from Captain Marvel because even though it doesn't reach the peaks of his Hulk run, of Peter David's Hulk run, it's still incredibly entertaining. The characters are so incredibly well-rounded. Plus, there are all these weird little mysteries that he likes to keep going on. Like, Marlowe can see someone who's dead. What's going on?
Yeah.
There's how does this all fit into Avengers Forever? Because there was at some point, well, Captain Marvel was on that team of Avengers in Avengers Forever, with all Avengers plucked from different timelines, and he was tied to an older Rick Jones. So how does it relate back? Was it an alternate universe version? No. If you do want to know where that fits in, by the way, read Captain Marvel number 21 of this series, so 6 issues earlier. But yeah, so this is Time Flies. This is deep in to his first run of Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
It's a time travel story. Star Fox appears in the toilet in the comic shop that Marlowe runs, and he's somehow opened a portal through time in the toilet. And so Marlowe flushes it. Captain Marvel and Star Fox get sucked into the future through the toilet, and they meet Spider-Man 2099. And if that isn't enough, if you've read Spider-Man 2099, there are tons of references and payoffs, and there's a really big reveal. So there was
Yes.
a long-standing mystery in
That's
Spider-Man.
what I mean.
Yeah, and it's a different
That's what
title.
I mean.
Spider
Different
and what
title
almost
pays
10 years
off.
earlier, there's a character in that, and there was a big mystery as to who that character was. Funnily enough, that links back again. So there was
Yeah.
another character called Net Profit, and it turns
Yes.
out he's Justice from the New Universe, which Peter David used to write. But also there's another character called
Yes.
Thanatos,
Thanatos.
and he appears, and they were trying to figure out who he was, or is he anybody of note? This
Yeah,
storyline
yeah.
reveals who he is behind
Because
the
I was
helmet.
reading Time Flies purposely for this
Oh,
episode. I said I'm
dude.
gonna when the time comes, because it what's genius about it, I'm so happy you mentioned it. Doesn't matter as long as it's mentioned, is that it takes the Captain Marvel and the Rick Jones. So you got that Hulk history,
Yeah.
and then is involved.
I
And
wasn't going to say who it was, but yes, if you're a big, it doesn't matter. If you're,
it's a celebration of Peter David
it
stories.
completely is, because the thing is, it doesn't
That's
just involve. You end up
yeah,
in, because there's they find Doom's time platform
yeah.
at Alchemax, so all these things are interlinking, and then you don't just get. This leans heavily into Future Imperfect. So if you're a fan of Future Imperfect, you'll see a storyline that takes place before that storyline happens. As
Fun
great
comic.
as it is, don't start there. Go back to issue
No,
0, read issue
yeah,
0 upwards. And actually, if you do want to make 100% sense of it, read Avengers Forever first, because that's another series that it sets up the whole title. So our commercial break this time around is dedicated to Peter David himself. Obviously, we recently lost the legendary writer. That's a phrase that's used a lot, but he genuinely is a legendary comic book writer, one of the greatest talents we've ever had. So much stuff to delve into. If you've not read any of his stuff, I'm going to do a top 5 that's going to help you find some Peter David stories. So these are our top 5 most read Omniverse Comics Guide Peter David related reading orders. Thank you. At number 5, we've got X Factor 2004 to 2013. That's X Factor Investigations, so that's the entire run. Number 4, Spider-Man 2099, the original 92 to 97 series. Again, that's broken down in order. At number 3, it's Hulk from 1993 to 98, which is actually part 2 of the Hulk Peter David reading order. Number 2, Spider-Man 1984 to 85, which includes a number of stories by Peter David. And at number 1, Hulk 1987 to 1992, which begins Peter David's run on Hulk. So it's the first half of his time on the Incredible Hulk. It takes it from those 10 slightly awkward issues with Todd McFarlane to that issue 340 with Wolverine versus Hulk, and then it just escalates from there. I dropped a review of Hulk Visionaries on Amazon years ago, and I didn't give volume 1 a particularly good review, but I said, look, you've got to stick with it because it pays off. So he's finding his feet on the book, and I'm not going to tell you this is the best you'll read in volume 1, because it's not. If people read the first 5 issues of that, they might go, oh, I'm not seeing what's the appeal of it is. So that's the thing. It's stick with it. If you get the omnibus, stick with it, or if you find Visionaries, or you're reading it on the Marvel app, whatever it is, stick with it. Those first issues are kind of fun. You get some really early McFarlane, you get really early Peter David, but it's worth staying with, because once it really, really gets going, it's just going to take you with it.
Number 3, shall we continue? I am going to stick with the Spider-Man 2099 universe, but now I'm going to go to a crossover moment when he finally meets Spider-Man Peter Parker. It's a cool story. It's a one and done one shot. I think it was years in the making because I don't think they, what's the word, like went to the well for this one. They didn't try to cash in on it right away. And it's collected in the Spider-Man 2099 Volume 1 Omni. Deep into the Omni, actually, almost near the end of it. But they say it came out around issue 38. So I think they put it around where it was released. But I think the story supposedly takes place earlier in Spider-Man 2099's history, something like that.
There's a way to find out, dude. Someone's done a
How can we
reading
find
order. Yeah,
Where can we
yeah.
find a reading
Oh,
order
you
for
can
that?
find it on OmniverseComics.Guide.
You don't say. You know why?
So,
Because we're second to none.
second to none.
That would be helpful for me. I jumped ahead and I read it because I'm like, you know what? It's one of those special one shots
Yeah,
that if you know the characters enough, and it's a really cool story where he finds a way to make them switch places, live in each other's worlds, kind of see almost like from their perspectives what their viewpoints of the past or the future would be where they are in their lives
yeah.
at that moment in time, which I think the easy trope of the Freaky Friday switch around is simple, but it's how does he make them function in those places? One person where they're like a legacy character,
Uh huh.
almost, and in a society, the 2099 society, there's a lot of hero worship that takes place. It's important to note in that Nueva York, as they call it, there's a bunch of religions built around the Avenger characters.
Yeah.
Whereas in Spider-Man's Peter Parker's reality, as we know it, he's going through the clone saga and he's kind of like, you know what? I think I would rather be stuck here if I could. The only reason to go back is for my wife, but this isn't such a bad deal for me because I won't have to deal with that shit back home.
Yeah.
So it's a cool juxtaposition of the characters. They do it in a really neat way. He does something in this story, introduces something that he brings back later,
Ah, yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spider-Man 2099 meets Spider-Man. I guess a very early precursor to what today is the Spider-Verse, because now these characters are in
That's a good
movies
point.
and are, there's a whole Spider-Man family with Spider-Gwen and Spider-Woman and Miguel and Miles and yada yada yada. Rick Leonardi on art, Al Williamson on the inks,
Hmm.
and Peter David on the script. It's the original creative team for Spider-Man 2099.
Okay.
Okay,
Number
you're
four.
number four. Yes.
Number four relates to my T-shirt. No Omega bread. This is not me lactating really badly, as you suggested earlier. Thank you very much. This, I got this. I put this on a wish list. This T-shirt because I wanted a Madrox T-shirt because I love the character so much, but it wasn't what was advertised. So the picture had it looking like it does in the comics, where it's smaller and just appears up here. I don't like big print shirts, and it turned up like I look like what the. What is this? But I bore it to death anyway, because Madrox. So, my choice number 4 is X Factor 39. I'm not going to show the cover when I put the graphics up. I'm going to show the cover to 38, because the cover's a bit of a spoiler. I'm also not going to talk too much about what happens in the issue. But this, for me, I think was the real tipping point for X Factor. And even though there have been some really good stories on this title when they relaunched. So, it initially launched, there was Madrox 1 to 5, which was a Marvel Knights book by Peter David. And that then carried on into X Factor, which is Madrox running his own private investigations team. So it kind of felt like if Vertigo did an X-Men book, but with no swearing. That's, to me, that's how it felt, because it wasn't following any of the other
Yes.
X-book
Yes.
style stuff. It wasn't the garish costumes, which had come back at this point. It was all very dimly lit PI stuff, but also very funny. But even then, there are some really nasty things that happen to the characters here and there, and they're really harsh things that happen to the characters. But by issue 39, there was a bit of a love triangle. There'd been a bit of a love triangle with 3 of the characters, and it culminates in issue 39 when there's a big change in the life of Siren, who's a long-running X-Men character. She's the daughter of Banshee. She's been around since early 80s, if I remember right, from Spider-Woman. There's a big change in their relationship and how that functions, and then something happens that literally had my mouth open. Just it was awful, and I think it's hard to say. I can't say that because it will spoil it too much. It's really hard to talk about, but it's one of those things that really hit, because it's like, it's as simple as it is, even as an idea, but as simple as it is the thing that happens to the characters in this. It's awful, and it completely disrupts the team dynamic going forward for like the next year. So it's a complete change of direction for the book. The way he leans into an X book like X Factor is he leans into that change. The whole mutant thing is about change, and he really, really plays on this. And characters come and go, and the lineup changes all the time. But this sets things in motion for a year of X Factor that I really like, with all sorts of time travel stuff going on. But yeah, what a shocker X Factor 39 was. He actually released something at the time where he said, don't spoil this issue. Don't post the pages from it. Don't tell anyone what happened, because this will be a shocker. And no one did, because hardly anyone was reading the book. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't have those X-Men numbers. But I think that benefited in a way, because he could do what he wanted. When a book becomes too popular in the big two, I mean, you'll notice for me tonight, all my choices are Marvel, because his Marvel stuff was the stuff that impacted me the most. I've read some of his Aquaman. I've read a fair chunk of his Supergirl. Fair chunk again of Young Justice. Well, I wasn't that keen on Young Justice, but I didn't feel like it was written for me, which is fine, This, the best Peter David, when Peter David's at his best, it's when he's being left alone to do what he does. I mean, the reason he left Hulk in the end was because he was being told what he had to do, because the book was selling. But the book was selling because he was left alone, The more they left him alone, the better the book did. And then the better it did, the more they wouldn't leave him alone. So it was this vicious circle.
I'm going to cheat on this one.
Do it.
My number 4. I'm going to go with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Issues number 5 to 23 is what he wrote. I really wanted to pick a 2-issue, 3-issue part of this, but it all blends together the way Peter David does. So I'm going to go with the Back in Black. Peter David, Back in Black, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But it's collected in a trade. I'm not sure if it's available anymore, but it was a complete collection that I regret not buying physical copy of, because it's fun stuff. You've got, I think Ruringo does some art in it. Todd Knock does some art in it.
That's right.
I think Scott Eaton. So it's well casted as far as the artists go. And he reintroduces some things that he shows us in the Spider-Man 2099 Spider-Man meeting each other crossover. He brings some of those characters back in a time disruptive kind of story that sticks around. Like, it has a payoff. There's a character who returns in a very interesting way. Yeah, there was somewhat of like a what if issue. I was going to pick that one where it's if Aunt May had died instead of Uncle Ben. Check it out. It's available digitally. It was coming out right around Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, where they were going to have him in the black costume. So they found a way in the comics during the post-Civil War that he was kind of a fugitive wearing the black costume again, which I didn't mind the Peter David stuff. I don't remember JMS's
The JMS stuff was good until One More Day.
Yeah, exactly. So this collection ends with One More Day being the next thing. So it's almost like when I read it, I was like, this is almost like the end of Spider-Man proper as we know it.
Pretty much.
Nothing was this, and going out with Peter David writing it had a charm. Yes, the Luchador two-parter, just responding to Omega
I forgot
Bread.
about that one.
I was going to mention that. That's a hidden gem.
That's a good shout, man. I forgot about that storyline.
Yes.
I'm going to wrap up my 5.
Wrap up.
I couldn't not mention this. It's funny because I don't necessarily think it's one of my favorite stories from Incredible Hulk, but it's sort of like when I read it again and I've gone, no, it's good. It's really good. So it's a 2-parter. It does stand alone. It is Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect 1 to 2 from 1992. The lead-in to that storyline happens in Incredible Hulk 415, which is 1994. So it happened, and then we didn't see where it happened for 2 years. It was 2 years before it slotted into the continuity. This is such a classic.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Here you go. I've got George Perez doing it. Here you go. Boom. They could have sat on that for 2 years and then launched it. But anyway, they did what they did. And why not? So this was when the Professor Hulk, Smart Hulk, whatever you want to call him, was still relatively new. He'd only been around for about a year. And in this story, he is dragged to the future to deal with a threat to that timeline that only he can stop. Who's it going to be? Himself. Marvel does these great future stories, and they're at their best, I think, when they're not too overblown. Age of Apocalypse is the exception, I think. But when they're not too overblown, it works really well. Like Days of Future Past, two issue storyline, boom, gone, done. This is along those lines. I would put it up there. Future Imperfect is two double-sized issues, and it takes the Hulk into the future to face himself in the future. And bear in mind, like he doesn't age the same way everyone does when he's the Hulk. You know, the Hulk doesn't deteriorate like humans do. He doesn't age like humans do. But what they show in this. Well, of course, it's got to be a dystopian future. What else? What's the other reason to bring the Hulk forward in time? Yeah, everything's doing well. Just thought we'd show you. Ta-da! No, they show him this room that an aging Rick Jones is in, sat in Professor X's chair, with all the remnants of all the helmets and weapons and stuff that are left of all the dead heroes. This is bleak, but because it's Peter David, there's little nuggets of levity. Plus, it's drawn by George Perez. I mean, it looks truly incredible. Incredible is perfect to sum it up. It looks fantastic. That's a different title. It's a great story, but I think one of the things that works so well about it, apart from introducing a whole new set of characters who end up playing a role further into Peter David's run, like Janice Jones, but it also, the way it resolves the problem is really clever. And it makes the ending so worth it. Like, the payoff is so good. So definitely, even if you read it on its own, you don't have to read the whole run to appreciate it. But if you do read the whole run, you really see how he's dealing with these characters. I mean, this has an impact on the Hulk's life. It plays a huge part of his paranoia in terms of
the Marvel universe.
It does, really. But I mean, in that point in time in Peter David's run, his biggest fear, I think it establishes really what the Hulk's biggest fear is, and it's himself. There's so many references to the trophy room in the chat, including more filth from bread and reference to helmets. But
of course,
there's so much to look at that even when I didn't, I was still learning stuff about the Marvel Universe at that time. So some of it, I didn't know what it was, but it made me want to delve. And that's, to me, mainstream comics at their best.
Okay, my number 5.
Hit us.
It is not going to be quite as epic as Future Imperfect, but nothing is, in fairness. Nothing is. It's a return to Spider-Man 2099 in the modern Marvel universe, where post Dan Slott's Superior Spider-Man run, he finds a way to have Miguel O'Hara stuck in, at that time, 2014. So the first 4 issues of the 2014 series, which runs for 12 issues, and then we get into the Secret Wars crossover, which is the one thing that plagued a lot of the books of that time, is that the crossovers, of course. But these first 4 issues set up Miguel O'Hara in New York of the modern times, with Peter Parker coming back and being in charge of Parker Industries. So the first 4 issues, they don't get into the Spider-Verse storyline. After issue 5, it really pays off to read the Spider-Verse crossovers to see where you are for Miguel's story to really make proper sense. If you just read it in this, it's a little disjointed. But the first 4 issues set up his world, set up the stakes. The characters that are in his life are now Peter's friends and people he's grown up with. His boss is Liz Allen. Him being time displaced and working for a company that he would work for in the future with people who have a direct effect on his existence makes this really interesting. It's kind of like, almost like a Marty McFly. I can't do too much, but I have to do something, or
Marty
else.
McSpider.
Yeah, there you go. Miguel McFly. So, yeah, these first 4 issues are worth checking out. If you like them, you'll enjoy the rest of the ride. Stick around for the Spider-Verse whole crossover. I think that was a pretty well executed crossover. Very daunting to try to do. So start here. This is a good starting point. That's why I listed these first 4 issues, and then take it from there. See where it goes. And I think right now the volume 2 is, depending where you live, is a pretty good deal online for it.
Okay.
So if you, worth checking out. And it collects, that Omni collects the Captain Marvel story that you mentioned. It's also in there.
Oh, right.
They
Okay.
include it. So they do a really good job of making the Spider-Man 2099 Omnis pretty complete.
They have done a really good job of, all in all, making sure everything is complete. But like with X Factor Volume 4, they didn't stop at the end of the X Factor Investigations run. They included that all new, all different, all new X Factor, sorry. Those Avengers, X-Men Forever issues. And it's like with the, I imagine they're probably going to do a Spider-Man Peter David one. I reckon they will do it.
Might as well.
Because even like with Hulk, they did Volume 5, which just had all the other stuff, you know? And then
Yes.
they did a
Yes.
Maestro one with all the Maestro. So there
Yes.
were some repeats, but they seemed to be. It felt like we were clamoring for Peter David stuff. We did episodes on this, kind of like, why haven't they done any Peter David stuff? It
And
seemed
you know, it's
so
always
obvious.
unfortunate. It's so unfortunate they started doing it when he had health issues and money problems.
Yeah,
And it's like you should have been celebrating this guy's work for
yeah,
a long time because it is that good.
yeah.
But
That is a real shame, and
yeah,
Marvel should have done better there. There's plenty that we could potentially have included, but
I feel like we could do a part two next year very,
we
very,
could do
very
one next
easily.
week.
Yeah, very, very easy. We could just do a feature on Peter David's Hulk run. It's 12 years worth of reading.
Yeah,
We'll have things to pick
yeah. Oh, easily.
easily. So very good. Very nice. Rest in peace to Peter David. And rest in
Yeah.
peace to Jim Shooter, who, as we record this, we just found out a couple days ago that he's no longer with us.
Mm.
And we were really, really privileged to have him on this show. Like we couldn't believe when it happened. It turned out
God.
to be a really great conversation. But
But he seemed really comfortable talking through his history, and he asked some great questions to delve into stuff. I mean, like you said, there were plans for a part two, but
yeah,
not to
we
be.
were trying. We were trying, but very, very happy that we've had him on. And if you haven't listened to that episode, check it out because he gives us some really cool stories, insights, and you know, it goes without saying he was controversial in comics, but he left an indelible mark for the better.
Yeah, he definitely had a positive effect. Even the stuff he did to support freelance creators and make sure they
Yeah,
had like health plans and stuff, a lot of which Marvel have since got rid of.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you can villainize Jim Shooter as much as you like. He did a lot of stuff that helped people.
yeah, exactly. There was a lot more that came of good because of what. Just look at the stuff that he was the editor in chief during a tenure that's just like
The greatest
incredible.
decade for Marvel.
The great. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So we're
Fight you
losing
in the
these
car park
titans.
if you don't agree.
Yeah, we're losing titans, but let's celebrate them
Yeah,
because their
exactly.
work is forever. Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, read some Peter David, everybody. Dave, as always, good to see you, my friend, and everybody on the Twitch. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week, and we got some fun episodes coming your way.
Oh, we do. You little blighters.
OmniverseComics.Guide. I remember reading I don't know if it was inside of a trade, a Visionaries, or some article on the internet, how critical and almost like disdain John Byrne had for Peter David's Hulk. Like
Really?
he was openly critical. Like he ruined the character, and we got to bring the Hulk back to what he's supposed to be. And I always felt
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess there's like a mixed feeling about it,
Well,
but
weirdly, John Byrne then had a run after Peter David, and it's one of the worst Hulk runs I ever read.
there you go.